Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and today we're going to discuss some more stuff that's coming in 8.2 or later. It might come in 8.3 or whatever the next patch happens to be. But some of these things are really cool, really interesting, and we haven't covered them yet, and they could completely change the way you play the game. Actually, it's not even a question. Some of them will completely change the way you play the game, as a lot of them have to do with the UI interface and how you see and react and click and interact with the game. So the first thing, we have a brand new inventory UI, and this inventory now comes with 3 different tabs inside of it. You'll have the appearance, you'll have the inventory, and you'll have blessings. So for the inventory portion of it, you'll notice several things have changed here. One, the entire layout is different. Two, you can now see your crafting materials, kind of a brief overview with it right off the bat. You can see your total number of shards, what that helps you really accomplish, not much, but it's something I guess you can show off. Shows the total amount of ruins that you have. Again, doesn't really matter because it doesn't tell you like the important ones, how many of them you have individually, and then it also tells you how many glyphs you have. And again, these things don't really do very much in aspect to, the ones that you need, but they're still useful. The biggest thing about this entire picture that you might have picked up on already if you're looking at it is our idle slot has, one, swapped sides, but two, is no longer a 4x4 square. It is now a 5x5 that's missing the corners and has a locked square in the middle. While that does mean that there is an increase in the total number of 1x1 slots, you now have 20 instead of 16, this is a decrease in power because the number of 1x4s that you can actually put in it is now limited to 2 instead of 4. However, if you don't run 1x4s or 4x1s and you like 1x3s, you can still get 4 of those in here along with some 1x1s and 1x2s. You are still limited to 8 1x2s to be able to put in here, but if you do put 8 1x2s, you now get 4 1x1s along with it. The biggest thing in my mind that this does is it's going to help you get a lot more resistances into your build through idols and not so much on gear anymore. Now, I don't know how much you guys like it, but I really think this looks a lot cleaner. I really like that it's going to be a lot more of a puzzle with the idols. I like that the gold and the sword items and all of that was moved up above the actual inventory slot. So now everything's just real close. Everything you click is just kind of all in the same area. It's kind of micromanaged to a lot cleaner aspect and a lot quicker to navigate through, and I really, really like it. I like the graphical art. Everything about this just looks better in my opinion, and I can't wait for it to be in the game. Alright, up next, inside of that same UI where you have the inventory, you have that tab that says blessing, and I'm sorry this is really grayed out, but it's just how the image was given to us. A lot of it kind of seems like it was purposely blurred, but you can see that it says blessings, so you'll now have a blessings tab. Instead of opening up your map and seeing them on the side, and it was kind of clunky and kind of scattered, and trying to find the one you were looking for was hard, it's now going to be much cleaner and much easier to not only see the ones you have, but the ones that you've unlocked and the ones you could get, and yet still the ones you haven't even discovered. So in here you can see that they are on the timeline Fall of the Outcast. You'll be able to have a drop down menu to go to the timeline of your choosing. And then up here, it looks like he clicked on the one that he has. I'm assuming he must have 4 timelines unlocked and he's only picked blessings for 3 of them. I'm not sure why there's more of them. First, I thought that these were the ones that he had actually found on the timeline, but what's weird is down below it actually says that he's already discovered all of them on that timeline. I'm assuming the undiscovered ones would be the empowered timeline versions, which is really weird that there's more of them than these ones. It's kind of confusing the way it's set up, and maybe it's meant to not actually for us to depict it that far. But so far it looks like he's had 3 idols that he could currently pick between, or are these linked to a different timeline? I'm not sure what to make of it. I just know that some of them are locked. Maybe these are the ones he actually has on his character and he can have a total of this amount. If he clicks on this one, it takes him to the Fall of the Outcast. These are his other options for that particular slot. Right now his character has 3 idols, could possibly have a 4th. Maybe these are something that you unlock now as you complete a timeline. The other weird thing here is there's way more than 10. We only have 10 timelines, and right here we have 12 active blessing slots that are locked. So I really don't know what to make of this. It obviously says something about the blessings is going to change, or it's that they're implementing this in the next patch. And because there's 12 of these, that means that 2 new timelines are coming. But we're really stretching it out there to come that far. This also looks like it means a lot more blessing types are coming. It looks like there's going to be more empowered types versus unempowered, if that's what this undiscovered ones are. I'm really not sure. Maybe he has this total amount is the amount that you can find, and he's only uncovered these ones. You actually have to run the timeline and see them for them to be discovered. And in that way, you know, you probably still have an equal amount of empowered versus non-empowered blessings. A lot of ways to bite into that, a lot of ways to see it. But the most excited thing, I am excited to see that we have 12 of these, and that probably does mean we're getting 2 new timelines in the next one. But again, a very clean, quick access, easy to navigate UI, which is going to make hunting blessings, looking at your blessings, knowing what you could have as blessings, what you've seen, what you haven't seen, and how much more there is to unlock. Very, very nice feature. Alright, third, we got new changes coming to the loot filter, and as much as I love to see these changes, I'm also thinking about how many times I'm going to be asked to upgrade a previous loot filter using this new filter, which is going to be ridiculous. But I can promise you that builds and guides that I do after this is released, whenever this does get released, will of course be making use of this to have some very specific items being dropped. So with it, you're now going to be allowed to have an with at least function of these affixes on the same item. What this means is you pick all the normal affixes you would normally pick like you do in the loot filter now, but now you can make it filter to where an item must have 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those affixes in order to actually be highlighted a different color or however such that you have it. You can have it where it's the same as it is now with just 1 affix, or you can have it set up to where it must have at least 3 of the 4 affixes you want, or even as specific as having to have all 4 of the affixes, which means you're only going to see an item once in about 2 years. For the second, you can then add conditions. You can add, not only does it have to have those specific affixes and all of them, but you can also make it to where they must be a specific tier. Either one of them has to be a specific tier level, or all of them must add together to be a specific tier level. And that's very specific. It means that I can say I want an item that has 4 of the affixes I want, and they must total to tier 20, which means that only an item that's tier 20 with the 4 affixes you want will drop. And in that case, you might as well just run around naked for the rest of your life, because that's not going to happen. The way that these two will work together is you set it to where affixes can have a tier, so you could say that any tier can have any level, or all tiers must have like 2 or 3 or 4. But if you set it up to where they can be any tier, then you can actually, in the total, you can just set it up to where they only have to total to a total amount of 10. So it doesn't matter whether there's a bunch of 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, or you even got a tier 5. Because it could drop an item with a tier 5, but only tier 1s of the other. And if you set this to 10, that item actually won't show it to you because they only total to 8. So 8 would kind of be the minimum number I'd go with, so that the base item that I could have, the worst one that would possibly pop up, would have a tier 5 plus 3 tier 1s. And as you can see, they set it up down here to where an item must have at least 2 of the affixes that they had picked. Each individual affix must be more than 4 tiers, and there must be a total of at least 11 tiers on that item for the to pop up. So that would be at least 2 of the affixes they want, and at least, in that case, there would have to be a minimum 3 affixes unless it was exalted for the item to actually appear. But this is definitely going to increase. I'll definitely be adding these kind of rules and conditions to my template that I put out for you guys in the future, and it will have it to where a new color will be implemented. Instead of red being the most powerful, best ones right now, you're going to have a new color that will show off more specific. I'm thinking of going with 3 affixes at the moment, with at least a total of tier 10. But like I said, I don't really want to go over the tier 8 threshold, and I don't want to require it to have 4 of the affixes you want. That's something I'll leave up to you guys. But this, again, something super excited for. Going to change the world of filtering, and it's going to be a really, really nice addition when it does come to the game. Alright, and fourth, coming up next, what looks like we have a huge change, not only coming to the UI of the crafting, but crafting itself seems to be changing completely. And I don't even know where to begin with this, because it looks like every aspect of crafting is changing. So let's just take a look here. It looks like you go ahead and throw in your item into this slot, and then you have a crafting material. Shards are normally diamond shaped, so I'm going to assume that the diamond goes in here, and then I have no idea what anything else in here is. It looks like you could throw in your ruin. It's just weird because glyphs and stuff is square, and none of these are squares, but I assume it goes in somewhere. And then why you have 4 additional things that can be tied to this, I have no idea. So it's just weird to see so many options going into however you're going to craft this, because it looks like you can put in up to 6 things that are going to affect the craft before you click craft, which I assume would be this rectangle would light up. Now here's the next thing that changes. Upgrading will add 2 instability to your item. Now this is why it's different. Crafting normally adds 5 instability. You can get that reduced anywhere from 0 to 2, I believe, if you use a glyph of stability, so it can reduce it down to only adding 3 instability on a craft at best. But now you'll only be adding 2 instability, so how that changes the glyphs that we already have, like glyph the stability, I don't know. But what's really weird about this is that means that the entire system of crafting is changed. It's completely different formulas, everything, it's all different. And then if you look below, it says minor, damaging, and destructive. So you still have the 3 same type of fractures, but it looks like they have predetermined amounts next to them. It says 20% minor, 15% damaging, and 5% destructive. And I have no idea if these numbers are something we should even be looking at or focused. They might have just been numbers they just threw in there for a picture. So don't get misled too hard by them. We have no idea what's coming. I'm assuming that these must light up at some point when you hit a threshold. In that case, it means that if you're only getting 2 instability, you would have to do 10 crafts in order to get down 20% instability to get to the minor. And there's no way they're allowing you to do 10 crafts. So I threw that theory out. I just don't understand where the 20% minor comes in. Maybe you always have a 20% chance to have a minor break on something after you have crafted a specific number of times on it. Maybe the more items that you put in here increases the amount of stability that will be added. So like right now, if you were just to craft an item with nothing added, it's 2 instability. But if you add in these other options of whatever they may be, this instability goes up, and you could add up to 20 instability on a single craft, and that's where these light up, and you get the destructive and all of that. The chance for those will go up. But I have no idea. All I know is I'm really interested to see what this is. It looks like a complete rework to the whole crafting as we know it. So if you were waiting for that crafting video that I was going to make, which I still haven't made, it will come out after this. Yeah, that's the plan. Overall, though, it looks exciting. It looks good. And I'm really excited to have a new feature for crafting and just to see how it works, play with it. Hopefully, it turns out awesome. I assume it would. Everything that EHG has been doing has been getting better and better. So let's go ahead and hope this one's one of the same. All right, up next, we got the UI changes to the mastery and the passives. So here it looks like you open up your passive tree, and instead of it being on about the 33% of the right side of your screen where it takes up the whole side panel, it's now going to be a full screen UI. Now, it looks like on the left side, you'll have the Acolyte, or whatever base class it is that you are, and then you'll have your 3 masteries. Now, the cool thing about this is it makes it really easy to add on more, or to even add on sub-masteries in the future, because you could just link them further down. Plenty of room in this type of UI for expansion. And then it looks like you just click on them like you normally would on the tabs that you have. Down here, it's going to tell you all the benefits for it, what you get, just like it does on the tab mastery, but this gives them a lot more room for text than what we currently have. It's very small written underneath it, and it's only when you hover it over. Now it's going to be on the screen at all times. And then, of course, you have the passives. So it looks like they basically took the passive tree that you have right now, and instead of going from bottom up, they just flopped it on its side, and it's going to go from the left side to the right, and then you can see the halfway line, which now is very, very visual that it's locked unless you have that opened as a mastery. And then, of course, you have your skills at the line points. Here's another cool thing. If they ever plan on expanding this, it's just going to be a nice little slider bar on here, and you'll just continue on. The first thing that I can tell you, it looks like things are linked quite differently, and it also looks like some of these, they have more room to go wider, but it looks like they didn't go too wide. It looks like it's going to be the same 3 base, and I'm actually super excited because of this. I was really worried when I saw this that I was going to have to redo all my leveling guides, because if passive points got moved around, changed, linked differently, and there was huge changes, everyone was going to be wanting them to be redone, because it was going to be hard to follow something that was outdated, which I believe that, and I already know that by 1.0 I'll probably have redone the leveling guides 2 or 3 times, which is fine. There's plenty of different ways to level up, so it'll still be exciting. Overall, really like this. I think it's going to be much easier to see. There's more room for detail, expansion, and it's just going to look better having it as a full screen UI. I never really liked the half screen or quarter screen type UI it was, just because while it was nice doing speed running because you could click it while you were running, it just wasn't the cleanest look. And then sixth and lastly, we have the skills and specializations UI update, which is really cool. It looks better. Obviously, this grayed out background is going to have all sorts of details in it with artwork, which is going to be really cool. But right now, this is just their kind of rough draft, I assume. And it splits everything up and divides it into much clearer, cleaner UI than what we currently have. You can see the Sentinel skills that you have. You obviously can tell these are unlocked, these are not unlocked. You'll still have the icons for what type of elements are associated with that skill. Then below, you have what looks like will be unlocked by spending points in the Sentinel skill tree, and then you have what will be unlocked in the Void Knight, Forge Guard, and Paladin. And these are much cleaner, they're very distinct. You're going to obviously be able to see exactly where the skills are, how you get to them, how many points, and if they're unlocked yet or not, what elements are tagged with them. While this is already in the game, the points that are needed to unlock are also in there, but they're very hidden underneath, and they're not separated so cleanly. You kind of have them in columns, and some of them are longer than others depending what class you play. This is a very much cleaner UI than what we currently have, and I really look forward to it as well. Alright, that's all 6 things that I have recently come across that I haven't really done an update on yet, just because I was kind of waiting, hoping to hear whether they were going to for sure be in 8.2 or if they weren't. Still don't really know, but we're getting so close to 8.2, it was time to cover them, and so we did. Now, again, don't know if all of these will be in 8.2. I assume some of them, if not all of them, will be, but they'll be in the game at some point, and all of them I look forward to. As always, stay safe, travelers.